Sorry, we are gonna cut the beautiful music, but okay. Come.
Hello. Mira qué celebridades que tenemos en primera fila. Hey, where are you going? Hey, you, come here, come
Camila.
here.
Camila.
Camila. Okay. Thank you for that. This beautiful movie. And my first question, and it's been, the question that I've seen before when I saw the movie, and now it's just that this is a universal story. It's not just Cuba. It happens everywhere. Why did you decide to make it in Cuba? Why was the idea of
Well, the idea was in my head since the first time I went to Cuba in 2005. I went to the film school. I was studying cinematography, so the first thing that really blew my mind was Havana was the best, most beautiful natural set that I've ever been at. So the old cars from the 50s and the streets and the craziness. So at that point, I knew at some point in my life I wanted to do a movie in Cuba. And then I was just looking for the story. In a way, this story is a mix of all the experiences I had, like the story that people told me, people I met in Cuba, during all the trips that I have done, which are like probably more than 15 times. I don't know, I had the story in my mind for a very long time, and I finally was able to do it.
Okay.
I will say from a production standpoint, there was this idea that we could make a movie that made more sense from a budget standpoint. If we shot it, for instance, in Dominican Republic, they have great tax rebates. But the movie is called Malecon, no, and from that perspective, it was really, really hard for us imagining shooting the film anywhere that wouldn't be in La Habana, and also with a Cuban, fully Cuban cast and crew. And we're really happy that we ended up taking that decision.
Yes, indeed. It was marvelous, and that's why I want to ask you too, Camila. What was the emotions that you brought? Because I know your acting career is more outside Cuba than in Cuba. So doing a movie, making a movie there, what was in your mind to be there and to be in that moment also, because this is the 90s and up to 80s, 90s, and
like this,
until 2000.
Yes.
So tell me about that more from this emotional and the perspective of creating this character.
Well, it's actually the opposite. My entire career is based in Cuba, actually. I haven't done anything yet outside the country, but this is the last thing I did before I left, and it's such a privilege for me to be part of this project. And it was actually my first work on cinema. This is my first movie ever. All I did in my life was theater, musical theater. And so I'm very grateful with Carlos and the entire team for giving me this opportunity of doing this film, especially because it obviously talks about reality, like you said, not only for Cubans, but for a bunch of cultures around the world, which is immigration. But the movie is not actually about immigration. It's more about love and supporting each other no matter the circumstances are in your life. And that's something I was trying to defend the entire movie, how these three friends and lovers lost each other for a period of time given the circumstances, and along the way they find each other again, and the love remains intact between them, and they keep supporting each other despite that she has a husband and a kid, and the friend has another completely entire life that the other friend doesn't really support, but still they love each other, they support each other, and no matter what your decisions in life are, they're still there for you. This is a movie that talks about family and support and hope. And being here today at the Havana Film Festival, New York, and also Miami Film Festival, it's a very amazing privilege because it's getting along the way and it's touching the hearts of a bunch of Cubans and other people from other cultures, and that's why we work on art. That's what we do, and that's what matters. And so for me, it was a bunch of emotions. It's the last thing I did in Cuba, and I feel that I did it because my orishas or whatever guiding me through the way told me, hey, you need to do this before you go. Because it's important to my family, it's important to my friends here today, and it's important to me. And hopefully it will be important for you too. And that's the reason festivals still exist, cinema still exists, and art still exists. So it was a bunch of things. It was the message, the work, all the adventure through the process, because I don't know if you know, but doing anything in Cuba, it's very hard, almost impossible, and especially art these days. And we just do it for love. And that's what the movie is all about.
Yes.
So thank you guys for coming in today, for staying, for watching it. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity of the interview too.
Questions? Come on. 1, 2, 3.
We don't charge
Oh,
for
we
the
do.
questions. That's at the end.
If no, I keep going.
Come on, break the ice. I want to choose. If you don't decide,
Go
I'm going
ahead.
to choose.
But it's not a question,
Sure.
comment.
Is it a good one?
I've gone back and forth to Cuba every year for the past 23 years teaching community theater. And I have the same sense of family that they have for each other. It is a special thing in Cuba. It doesn't happen everywhere. And even in the novels, the recent novels, Abel's novel and Padura's novels, these are great Cuban writers, that you see it. So when you say it's universal, yes, but it is so Cuban.
Thank you for that.
That's the biggest gift you can give to this country. I thank you for that, all of you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Go. Then you first, sir. Yes, go ahead.
When you develop the film, did you think about the end from the beginning? Because it really surprised me. I really wanted him to go.
Okay, we actually discussed the end for a very long time, and I was changing my opinion. Like, I was waking up one day like, no, you know what, he's gonna stay. And then the next day I was like, no, he's leaving. At the end, the most important thing is the reason why he decided to stay, which is the family. And actually, the whole scene at the dinner, at the house, I didn't write it in the script. I knew, okay, this scene is about this. This is what is going to happen. It's about family. That's a reunion before he's going to leave. And it's what is going to make him understand what he has. And at this moment, is when he's going to change his mind. But it wasn't written. I came to remember we went to the table reading. I think I wrote something, but I told Jailin Coppola, which is the mom, America, I told her, you know what, come up with one story, anything. It's going to be a story about this or that. And then she came to the table reading. I didn't know what she was going to tell. And we were all kind of crying. I was like super emotional with the story. At that moment, I knew, I was happy. Like, okay, now we know the movie is about family and it's about reunion, reconnection. That's the theme.
I think Carlos, along the way, while we were creating this movie, he let himself being guided by the country and by the actors he was working with. So that's something I'm very grateful for, because he gave us a chance to create something on our own and give it the feeling of us Cuban living in Cuba in that moment we're feeling. And that's something, thank you for that we put on the scene. And that's actually my favorite scene on the movie, is when they gather together at the dinner. And I think from that moment, he decided that Elvis had to stay, because that's something we also need. the hope of something will change. And some of us don't have that courage, but maybe one day.
Okay.
A question for production. What was I guess, the most complicated part about finding the areas where you're going to shoot from? Especially because I've never been to Cuba, but I'm going to guess, like, I've lived in New Orleans, and one of my friends from Cuba just always says that it kind of resembles a lot of it. The buildings being so small, how do you, like, choose the angles, or how do you, oh my God, it's so loud. Or like, how do you, I guess, yeah.
Start again.
I mean, he was asking about how did we choose to the different locations, right? That we shot in Cuba, and you were mentioning that you're from New Orleans, and that a lot of people had said that it looks a little bit similar. Flavio, I think you're better positioned to answer this one.
Well, when you work with Carlos, he's totally obsessed with every single detail. So basically, when you ask a question to your producer, you need to ask a question to him, because he has this movie in his mind from the beginning, from every single shot, every single angle, every single place. He was in Cuba. He was studying in Cuba, the Cuban film school. So Carlos has a very precise, very a specific location. So he knew. So Carlos is a person who basically is kind of very obsessed. That's why he's very good looking. He's a handsome devil. And he knew everything. Basically, we were here just we were having this conversation in the bar where we were trying to ask for cheap drinks. We were having this conversation about how he create, how his mind, his vision, we were there to support him. So Carlos created every single angle, every single place. He took pictures. He went to Cuba many times before me. And he was there before I arrived. So he was insisting, come, it's time. So basically, when we arrived in Cuba, Carlos already made the movie in his mind. So basically, we were there just to help him in, okay, what's next? But he took pictures, plans, he wrote it, he drew it. He was amazing that. So he knew it, This movie, when you watch this movie, you know the vision, that you don't get lost. So you really go where the director wants to go.
Yeah,
so
I
congratulations.
gotta say that it wasn't easy at all to shoot in Havana. It was really, really hard. Like Flavio said, I think I was super prepared. I knew what I wanted. But it was so important to have the people that supported my vision, because otherwise I would have gone crazy.
Yeah.
So every single problem we had, difficulty, anything, I was lucky that I was counting with my producers to make it happen somehow. And even when they were trying to take me somewhere else, why don't you shoot here? It's much better than Central Havana, which is gonna be impossible. I'm like, no, we have to shoot here. How do we make it happen? And they are the guys that made it happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks to us, he didn't go full crazy, just half crazy.
Girl in the back.
But I remember, wait. I remember once, the first day, Carlos has a scene where the police stop you and they were corrupt, and the Cuban police, and we were like, what the fuck? It's our first days. Can you wait this scene for the end of the shooting? Because you are stopping, but then we moved the scene to the end. But Carlos was very he knew it, what he wants. So, because filming in Cuba as a producer, also director, is not easy, as you know, as you can imagine. Making a movie in Cuba is very hard. So this movie, it's amazing. So Carlos has this movie in his mind, and he made it. As he said in the beginning, we were here 4 years ago in this festival, where you are sit right now, dreaming about this making a movie, and now he's there, and he made the movie. That's amazing.
Okay, let me go there first, then you, and then you, and we had to come.
No. It's impossible. We're going to stay here for 10 questions more. We flew all the way from Mexico and Spain. So.
Let's go, that we don't have time. Go ahead.
Sí.
Tell me.
Además, in addition to everything that has been said, I have a burning issue and a question. First, I was fascinated by the use of the musical score. The music ties everything in the movie together and gives depth to some of the very emotional parts in
Yeah. Uh, yeah. No, we had 80% of the music before shooting because I wanted to have the music with me while I was shooting, and I already imagined that wall with the music, with the atmosphere, and then we had the score. Once we had the movie, we just had to work with that score and like adjust it to the movie.
So go you, because Kika left, and then you.
First, I have a comment which ties to the end that
Yeah.
you said that you dedicated to everybody,
Yeah.
to everybody who is there, and it's incredibly touching. And I think all the Cubans who see it, I hope that so many see it in Cuba and outside. It's amazing that you really did it right then and there. I know how hard it is, and for everyone who's been there, even though you are not from there, just it feels so real. Just because you went
Thank you.
through that hardship to do it there, it really like you feel like you are there. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I wanted to ask, how long did it take from the beginning to actually execution?
The shooting or the whole project?
The whole project.
When did you started writing?
I started writing in 2005, the first time I went to the film school. Then I moved to LA 2011. I put it in a drawer for 6 years or 8 years, and then I took it back in 2019. We did like 10 different drafts. This movie went through a thriller, and then it was a drama, and it was like 10 different movies, and then we put it together at the very end.
We just finished it. Thank you.
And we just finished it. Yeah.
Oh. Question about the
4
script.
weeks and a half. Yeah, 5 weeks. Yeah.
Question for how much research did you go into the script with these characters? Because almost like every character, like how long was the process of like
Yeah.
writing each character, like her character,
Yeah.
Elvis, and then Martin, and how long did the script actually take before it came to its final form?
Yeah. So like I said before, I had different versions. So every single version was helping to build the last one. When it was a thriller and it was about the story between Sebastian and Elvis, that story helped me build the background on Sebastian. And then I went through the whole process with all the characters, and it was really, really helpful when I was with the actors. Because especially with Cesar, we did a teaser before the movie to get the financing. And we were discussing the character. He was reading the script, like helping me out. I had the privilege to work with this Cuban co-writer, Fabian Suarez, which really helped because for me it was really important to have the Cuban vision in the movie. And the actors were amazing too. They were really helping building the characters, bringing them to life.
And if I may, before we wrap up, since you were talking about Cesar, we would like to dedicate the screening to Cesar, who's in Madrid and hasn't been able to come, unfortunately, for bureaucratic reasons. But he plays Elvis, and he's the main character. So please, big applause for him. We'll be sending him this to him.
Cesar.
Yes, Cesar.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you, Carlos and Camila.
Thank you, Diana.
Jaime,
Thank you to the
and Flavio.
Havana Film Festival. Like I said before, it was my first festival ever. Flavio brought me here, and at that time, I was amazed by the sense of community and support to each other. And to me, it's a dream come true because we were discussing about this movie even before I finished the script, and that was the first festival, and one day I want to come here and see my movie with these people, and now it's
Thank you,
happening.
Diana.
Thank you.
A big
Thank you to
applause for her.
everybody. Yeah. Thank you, and let's party.